All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Or wow, good morning. I am not on the ball today. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared, and it is obviously a little bit of a slow start this morning. Maybe the hat is putting a little bit of mixed signals into my wording. So, hopefully everybody's having a great trading week so far. We just got through our Monday session. Uh, Pretty decent volatility overall in the market, but I figured today we have a fairly calm open. We're not really seeing a new gap up or gap down. There hasn't really been any major catalyst overnight. So I figured we'd take some time, look through a couple of the earnings plays that are reporting this morning. Obviously, they'll be on our gappers for some of the intraday opportunity. And then for this afternoon, we have a couple of key stocks that should be discussed in regards to their volatility, what sort of impacts they might have to the market, and some things to look out for if you are looking into their actual report and guidance. So figured we start off with Coca-Cola, so ticker symbol KO. I'll kind of reduce this down. So first off, just kind of looking at Coke over the past couple of days, there has been pretty decent rally in this particular name. Not only are we breaking the short-term downtrend, and we are changing structurally the trend itself by clearing this particular daily pivot, but that occurred into its earnings. So past two sessions, Coke has been rallying, and at least in those two sessions alone, it's up about 5%. So what were some of the metrics into Coca-Cola's earnings, and did those provide any additional insight into what we're seeing this morning, which is for now a gap up open and a slight beat on some of its EPS estimates. So from the option perspective, the option market perspective, as of yesterday, Coca-Cola closed with about a $2 expected move. You're looking at the close price of about 57.57. That means that plus or minus $2 would be somewhere in the region of about 4% volatility relative to the current stock price. And when we look at it from that perspective, we can kind of see, okay, well, how heavily traded was Coke yesterday? It did have a slight increase in some of its call and put activity. So some of that trade activity was placed yesterday. And along with that, we were seeing a rally. So this particular product was showing some relative strength compared to the rest of the market. If you're looking at the performance of Coke yesterday, up about 2.88% compared to the S&P itself, which I believe was only up approximately, bring up the trading terminal here, and just look at yesterday's performance, which should be updated by now, but the S&P was not up nearly as much. So Coke certainly had some relative strength, both in its percentage, a little bit of interesting technicals in the gap up and breaking of the daily downtrend, and of course the actual reaction itself. So the question is, what should we do today with it? Is it still a long? Is there anything abnormal about it? And ultimately, where does our edge come from? I would say that based on its reaction, we need to be careful of a few assumptions. First things first, it's still obviously rallying at this point in time. So most of our fade attempts are going to be relative to the current uptrend. If we are to find some sort of temporary top in the stock, we'd ideally like it to be at a resistance point or some sort of psychological price level that has some relevance to this name. And when I look at the option chain, assuming that $2 is the most Coke was able to rally, and that's coming from that 57.57, this provides us with the idea that this might be a fadeable name, assuming that we have a relative high in pre-market. Some things to watch out for. Coke does have a lot of open interest still at 59 and 60. This, in fact, about a $3 region here from 58 to 60 is probably your heaviest call open interest region for this stock. Getting above 60 could facilitate a move to 62, with 61 not necessarily showing those same characteristics. But in that scenario, we'd ideally like to see some consolidation, probably a range breakout. And then, of course, if we clear 60, 62 would be another upside target to look for today. If a stock like Coca-Cola were to fade, there are some notes here in regards to the lack of interest on the put side until we get to about 57. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that a fade should target this area, but what's going to facilitate some of that more profit-taking type behavior? It would ideally be some of the bulls, especially on the call side of the option chain, taking some profit off the table, and then the downside loading closer to at the money. So we ideally want to see some volume today, building close to about 59 to 58. That can kind of bridge the gap of low open interest in this region. And then, of course, 57 to 56 would be some of our reward targets if we were to see a downside move. Now, from the perspective of the chart, I would argue that once you get to previous day's close, you essentially have the equivalent of an earnings gap up into an opening gap fade. And at that point in time, pretty much anything can happen. The open interest is good for the psychological prices, but if we're looking at levels, 57 downside would certainly be a great profit zone, especially if you start to see changes in trend. You know, if the bulls kind of reclaim some of their ground even after a morning fade. Additionally, a lot of trending sessions, even if they pull back in the morning, so long as they're recovering somewhere around previous day close. Essentially, if you have a gap up open, a gap down open, you pull back into PDC, and then you start to return back to your open prices and essentially start to reverse on the intraday session, you can actually form trend days off of that type of setup alone. So no matter how much this stock fades, I'd still be kind of in the camp of eventually switching bias and looking for a bit of long opportunity, given that it is relatively strong, pretty decent earnings. And essentially, I'd want to fade this at a key area. Obviously, 59.60 stands out on the open interest. The question is, does it stand out on the technicals? From the perspective of last year, you know, probably, well, actually the beginning of this year, there was a range that did form on Coca-Cola. Now, it's arguable whether you should mark absolute lows and highs. I often like to see reactions after the fact, and those just kind of confirm that that range has been established much earlier. But arguably, this range in Coke started at about 58.57 low end, and the high side would be about 62.85. Now, obviously, we've seen some moves in Coca-Cola through its range, but you can tell the type of resistance we saw at the upper bounds. And whenever I know one of the levels of a range, you know, especially with a lot of additional confirmation, I only need to look back at when was that high set and what was the previous swing low. You know, so in this case, you could mark this area, Some people will even mark this low, and that tends to form a zone of support. The issue with Coke right now is that no matter how bullish it is in the past couple sessions, we are rallying into range resistance. And for that purpose, I think there will be a little bit of decision in regards to taking profit as a bull coming into earnings, along with a little bit of releasing some potentially underwater or just break-even positions that might have been engaged at these levels. Essentially previous participants who are looking at some of the weakness. We did lose a lot of our key moving averages. We might be breaking a short-term trend, but we still have the medium and then of course the long-term trends to get over as well. So keep that in mind, kind of a bigger picture analysis for Coke. You also would want to look at a similar company, stocks like Pepsi, who have already reported. And this is where you can see the bullish bias still kind of leaning towards the potential for more upside. But on today's session, we don't necessarily have to experience all of that bullish behavior. Pepsi did rally from its earnings, but it wasn't necessarily an all-out trending kind of day. In fact, it did have a relative high and low in that session. So short term, definitely looking to maybe fade a little bit of this overextension, ideally closer to 59 and 60. And at some point, if it does pull into like PDC or just starts to change its trend, then looking to maybe change bias and play it back to those highs. So trying to play both sides of the equation. So are you looking for a similar resistance as in December? So let's look at Coke one more time. December would have been back here. So the real breakout area of Coke based on this is somewhere around here. The previous swing highs on Coke. And really, when you look at a weekly chart, this should be obvious. Weeklies can really clean up a daily interpretation. There's a very obvious swing high, a low, and then a breakout, a weekly pullback into an extension, into a test, which did make a lower low, but it was immediately countered and transited the whole range. This is why you often mark both of these. Simply because of the reaction here. This is a test. It's a test of the swing low, which forms ranges over time. So the weekly chart kind of clears up some of that daily congestion. And what I'm trying to mark here are the high impact pivots, the ones that change the price direction concisely. This one here had a test that went straight up, a test that broke the high of the range and led to a little bit more upside. And then the breakdown here had some of the highest sell volume. So I know this level matters a lot. And therefore, seeing Coke back at these prices after a sell swing through it has to be thought of as a back test for now. It's the idea of breaking a range and back testing it. We can still go lower and continue this trend. Doesn't have to happen today, and there's definitely a force behind it today, but it's still a weaker move. It's a strong daily, probably a neutral to weak weekly chart. And that's where you have to kind of blend your time frames. So that's how I think of Coke today. Hopefully that provides a little edge. Another stock, UPS. Now this one had a little bit of precedent because we had a similar name, FedEx, come out with a significant reaction prior to its earnings. Obviously, it's been somewhat trapped on this gap down. A lot of what I like to call just kind of dead money in these ranges because essentially the stock reaction was so significant, it's going to take a while to recover any sort of bullish behavior. It's essentially a collapse of the price. So in these moments, you'll find things get overextended. They usually trade sideways to slightly up once a low is found. And you're really just getting back to your moving averages, which start to catch up with such a significant drop. So this was the reaction in FedEx prior to its earnings. And then, of course, earnings came out and the stock really didn't do anything new. It just kind of kept fading for a couple of days. You look at UPS and the picture is a little bit different, albeit it saw some of that volatility already. UPS did gap through and lose swing low support based around FedEx, excuse me. We've been trading essentially sideways ever since. We have the CPI kind of lows that have defined a lot of relative lows in this market. But if you're looking at the majority of the price, it's going to be between this low and something like this high. Testing, 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 testing. Lots of back and forth, more balance kind of approach than anything. And as I look at UPS's expected move, $13 is about what was priced on yesterday's session. So with a close of 167.50, it actually means that UPS, although it's bullish this morning, hasn't even moved what the option market expected. It's essentially within those boundaries. It hasn't tested either side. What would a 167.50 target be if the reaction did basically capture all of that volatility? Probably close to about 155 downside. And I guess it would be 180 upside. But when I look at the open interest here, that's really not where participants are. There's a lot more participation occurring at 172 on the call side and 185. So kind of a disparity between the implied volatility expected move versus the open interest and where it's located. If I'm looking downside, it doesn't really start to show itself until we get back to yesterday's close. And then from there, we could somewhat trade sideways just to transact about 2,000 put contracts near the previous close. So unfortunately, the option market isn't offering a ton of clarity. What I will say is that the 172.50s were slightly inside of their expected move for this play. And currently, they're not seeing basically a bullish move towards the expected move. They're not really getting to their target. Something like if the stock was opening closer to 180, these would be intrinsic. You'd expect those to maybe profit take and just unwind. Instead, it's almost as if there's a bit of a bullish bias at 172.50 and it's not being rewarded. So in that case, and due to this more negative sentiment of these companies, I would be looking at this one as a possible fade play. The reason being is we are seeing a lot of that move top out this morning. Additionally, we're seeing a daily chart that has a bit of a structural gap. Now, obviously, there's one much higher. It's the actual FedEx gap down. But I think even this type of gapping behavior and the one here, which was eventually covered, those areas offer little in the way of strength. And usually they will be transacted back and forth multiple times as they get filled. But more so than that, I think any bullish participant in this 4-day balance region, which is where the gap formed, would probably be more willing to just accept a more break-even or neutral-ish position, which can force the price back down. Essentially, more bulls taking profit as they've seen sort of a turnaround, even though the stock has been crushed recently. You know, it's very weak relative to a lot of names. So I'm kind of finding this one as an opportunity for bulls to cover, whether they played off of the actual bounce itself or they just somehow played earnings. The stock really didn't move what was expected, and for that reason, I'm kind of thinking more neutral to bearish, back inside, probably close to previous day close once again. Some issues with that play as I kind of go into the pre-market here. We're still in an uptrend, so be aware that price can kind of catch itself on the way back down. Ideally, you'd want to either play it aggressive near those psychological prices, 175, 180, you know, try and fade it from there, or try and target them so long as this uptrend continues. And we're going to see if a lower high forms anywhere in this region. But right now, we do have our first pullback getting bought. So you have to be careful assuming too much on these because it's still a bullish reaction. But I think a lot of the larger picture here is bearish. You know, it's definitely one to get out of versus get into. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for UPS. This is a volatility crush type trade. Yeah, anyone who played the expected move on UPS is probably going to get profitable results today. Same thing with Coke. Like Coke is in its expected move. So as long as you have a little bit of room, the volatility should come out enough to make profit. I do say that with a little bit of hesitation because the readings here are different. You know, if you're trying to play volatility crushes, you want the volatility itself to be really high. That way there's a big disparity when it does get sucked out of the series. 100% IV on a stock that probably trades closer to 50 most of the time means that there's a lot of IV to play. Coke is similar, it's high, but the relative IV is closer to about 30 to 35. So you can't expect the same reduction in IV. You know, from a percentage basis, Coke might come down 15%. And on a relative basis, probably 25 to 30% reduction, but this number comes down to like a 30 or a 32 or a 34. So that percentage of the vega that you're going to experience, the reduction in your premium, it's not going to be as significant, even though this is a higher reading for Coke. So that's the idea. All right, so those are the two that are probably going to be on our watch list today. You know, I'm definitely looking at those as opportunities today. What are some ones coming out this evening? And these are the ones that most people are focused on. Microsoft. Now for this one, same rules apply. Know what the expected move is. It's about $13 right now. Kind of figure out how it's going to close today. That'll decide how this number kind of is relative to option pricing. Know where the open interest is. You know, you can have this number be something and still have a larger participation pool somewhere else. And also understand that Microsoft, if you are looking for a little edge in regards to the actual earnings, I would say that a lot of the sentiment right now is based around companies with software as a service or just service provided companies are more immune to what's been going through this economy and some of the pressures that we're seeing with spending. The market itself might not be pricing that correctly. And if there is a surprise on Microsoft's revenue or just overall guidance for some of those larger business components, cloud services, software as a service, anything that's more or less a one-time subscription model and, you know, just renewal pricing, those items would be things to pay attention to in the actual report. It doesn't necessarily mean that the stock price will be affected by it, but it would be something that would shock the market. And I think if you're looking at where the stock has come from and where it is currently, this bounce, like a lot of plays in the market from CPI, is pretty significant. So there might be a little bit of an unwind, or in a surprise case, an actual drawdown, something that gaps through this range that's starting to form on Microsoft. So 13 bucks, 245 to 250 close. You can plus or minus that yourself, and just kind of look for that edge. But remember, the main play here is volatility. If there is no surprise, I would expect Microsoft to trade somewhere between 230 to 265 is kind of your plus or minus. So Google, and this is going to be the last one we look at for now, just kind of running low on time. Another big market cap mover, obviously. Ad revenue sensitive. We saw some of the reactionary consequence in stocks like Meta, stocks like Snap. Google is not immune to that kind of stuff, although more diversified and a bit more of a conglomerate than some of these other companies. Google still has that sensitivity to it, and it's definitely a much more internationally exposed company. So $6.50 expected move on the Class A shares, also very important. You want to be looking at the ones with the most call volume and put volume, or total volume. If you look at the Class C shares, it does trade, but it's probably like 40% less volume yesterday. So I'd much rather get the expected move from the Class A shares, even though they conceptually move the same. I just want to find the edge in the right product. And similarly, you kind of want to look where the open interest is. 95 stands out. That would be a downside move from current prices. Kind of fits within the expected move. Therefore, be looking at that as a zone of interest on a downside play. Upside, 110. That one stands out very much, by itself. It's the only one with 5 digits here. This can expand throughout the day, but the volume will show it. And we won't really know the open interest until tomorrow when the volume settles. So for Trader D, that kind of answers your question. Volume settles at the end of the day, and it changes the open interest. So there are more stocks reporting. The tools are the same. The evaluation's the same here. These companies, though, Microsoft and Google, are the ones to pay attention to. I should say Alphabet. These are the ones that are going to move the S&P. They're going to move the NASDAQ overnight. Whatever their reactions are will have a ripple effect. So understand your risk today. Know that these companies are coming out. As always, if you like what we discussed, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for pre-market prep, and we will talk more tomorrow.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PreMarket Prep. I hope everyone is having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How you doing today?
Hey, good morning, brother. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good. Um, let's get to some of the action we have going on this morning. But first, let's take a look at the stuff that we had on the list yesterday, guys. Taking a look here at a lot of the Chinese tickers that were actually very good. Let's head over to where's my mouse? Here we go. Head over to Neo and Baba yesterday. So both of them on the list. As you can see, Neo here just traded so great. It was an incredible breakdown yesterday, like many of the Chinese tickers did, right? Just things are not well there. And you can see the drop here, beautiful opening range, 5 minute continuation. You had a little bit of everything all the way down to 838 yesterday, Neo. Did bounce back to the VWAP, so gave you that as well. And then for the rest of the day, it's just pretty much sideways action. But again, in within that first half of the morning, you had your day done if you traded Neo. Baba was very similar, same thing here. Did sell down as well. Had a bigger, less of a drop and a nice kind of recovery. At least tried, and then sideways for the rest of the day. And that's all you saw across the board. With these Chinese tickers that were all down yesterday. I mean, they took over our gap down list, if you guys remember. Tesla was also down yesterday. Another one that sold off as well. Did recover, hit the highs of the day. So Tesla again, very active. A very rough start yesterday. As you can see here, I mean, just look at the back and forth. Look at these wicks, the way they're forming. They're just not ideal. Eventually, does settle down and give you some opportunities. We had Nvidia on deck, which again at the beginning was not the best. Trading we've seen out of Nvidia, but then it eventually did sell off, and you can see a nice little recovery here, nicely above the VWAP, all the way to the highs of the days. But again, this area here being in a place where the market was just starting off on the run foot yesterday. Here's Netflix. Netflix, same thing, same song and dance. Look at the wigs here. This is very frustrating, and this chop, right? Easy to get caught on that and get stopped out a couple of times eventually. Sells just gives you one drop. Doesn't really trade well the entire day, right? Although you move up here, it's not really good trading. AMD, similar to a lot of the other tech companies like Tesla, nice drop and then the recovery. The overall market did that move as well, but notice how some tickers did it better than other ones, right? Like AMD was clean, Netflix was not, right? So they're all doing the similar move, but some of them just not as clean as we would like. This is why sometimes you can watch things that are in different areas, and some might trade cleaner than others. I mean, I'm sorry, the same area, like the same sector, and some of them might be trading cleaner than others. Um, Norm, our gappers list today has quite a few things in the green this morning. We got earnings coming up on many companies, as Jared was talking earlier this morning. And if you haven't done so already on YouTube, hit that thumbs up for Jared. With Engineering the Markets, 8 a.m. every Monday through Thursday. Norm, latest and greatest for today as we get into today's action.
Well, yesterday, I'll tell you, yesterday I found tough, and I've mentioned it. Really, the big news of the week, we've got two things. We've got the FOMC meeting next week, but in front of that, we've got GDP, the first read of GDP for third quarter coming out on Thursday, and then we've got CPE, an inflation indicator, on Friday. So markets waiting to see what happens there. Last read before the Fed meets. Um, Today we've got home price index at 9 and 10 a.m.'s consumer confidence. Everybody expects the home price stuff to be just ugly. We all know the housing market slowed, interest rates skyrocketing as fast as they have, causing that to really take a downfall. Consumer confidence, we'll see. It should be interesting. Today, most of our stuff is based on individual catalyst. Yesterday, the vast majority of our list were Asian stocks on the gap down, Chinese to be specific, because of what had transpired over there. I found yesterday, especially early trading, to be very difficult. I was, kind of back and forth between red and green, but the opportunities presented themselves later in the day with reversals on Tesla and Meta for myself, and I know another number of other people caught some good things. So we're starting, we're back up to the high of October. We'll see what we do here. We have crossed some moving averages on the SPY. We were unable to accomplish at the beginning of the month. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I think we might be in a little bit of a holding pattern in this area until the data drops later this week and or the Fed. As you mentioned, we are in the heat of earnings season. A lot of mega cap reporting this week. So should be interesting, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that definitely is. All this earnings is going to give us a lot of, hopefully, some good opportunities. All right, let's get to it, guys. Let's look at what we have on our gappers list this morning. Control A, Control X is going to clean this up, and we're going to go ahead and focus on our gap up list here at the moment. So let's take a look at what's gapping up. Let's look at Web R. So Web R up 27%. Not looking great though. Very light volume.
Weber, this is an interesting one. This is a buyout, a proposed buyout. The largest shareholder of this company is reportedly offering to essentially take it private. They already own about half the company. They put in a bid at $625. As you can see, we're above $625. So either this, there are a couple of things that work here. We've got very high short float, 48% on trade ideas. It's a little bit lower on some other data feeds, but still elevated. So you've got the 27% pop right now. That's going to maybe induce a little bit of a squeeze. We'll see how that reacts. Usually I would say buyout, move on. This might be something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. All right, we'll see. Let's
we'll put not it. This would not be the first thing I'm watching, but it's potential that it could do something.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll put it on our secondary list and see what it does there, if it's going to be anything good for us to watch. Let's look at Logitech. So they reported last night, I believe, right? Or was this morning? Yeah, last night. And they're getting a nice gap up here, 6.3 volume, 110, a little lighter than what I would like. But this stock doesn't trade heavy volume, guys. Today, I'm not sure what to expect out of this. I really haven't traded Logitech, nor I'm not sure if you ever have. And what's your thoughts on it?
Man, I think I have, but it's been a long time.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it off the list, guys. I think we're just gonna find better things to look at. You know what? We will take a second look at it before we log off, see what it's doing. It's 110 right now. Maybe that can climb a little bit. Again, on a regular basis, they're getting only 1 million shares traded, right? So
they did release earnings last night. But that was, the written financial statements and statement was released last night. They have their conference call going on right now. It started 10 minutes ago. So
okay, well, let's see how that ends. Yeah, that makes sense why they're getting a little bit of volume now, because before a few minutes here, nothing has been happening, right? So you're just getting that going. CYTO, this looks horrible. I'm not sure what this is, but it doesn't look good, guys.
Oh yeah, throw in the trash, move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's look at GM this morning. They're up 3%. Volume is good, 700,000. GM, what's the news on GM today? Earnings. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove some levels. I'm not a big fan of GM, but they can do some things once in a while. Earnings is good opportunity here. We'll put it on deck as a possible. Let's take a look at JD. So JD up 3%, 285,000. JD makes me think of the other Chinese tickers that have been so active yesterday. We have PDD on deck here, up 2%. We have Lee, and we have Billy. But again, I think these two yesterday were incredible. Baba and Neo, especially Neo. Look at the candle. They put it on the daily, so that could be interesting. Already, they have decent volume. So I do like Baba there. Let's take a look at what Neo is doing. Neo, not a whole lot going on. I'm going to watch Baba today, guys. Just want to keep an eye on that, see how that's going to play out. Already good volume.
I will say this. We had the big down day on the Chinese stocks overall yesterday. And then a little bit of a bounce back. You can see like Baba's got that hammer doji. But what else? I saw a rumor earlier that China was trying to manipulate stock prices by having banks buy ticker. I couldn't even quite discern what exactly the article was saying. I don't know if that's an effect. I doubt it would be the same. I mean, that would make sense maybe on their own markets. I doubt it would have anything to do with these, because these are ADR. These are American depository shares.
Right.
They work differently. So just leave it at that without spending 15 minutes talking about garbage.
Yeah. So we'll see. Let's see what Baba does here. Neo is a good possible, man. Neo just continues. I saw many great trades from you guys on Twitter. You guys did an incredible stuff on Neo yesterday with that sell-off. It was just so clean. We'll put it as a possible for now. Good volume at the moment. Just not doing anything pre-market. Pretty much sideways for right now. We'll skip all of these. KO is on here. Obviously, KO is active today. I'm not a big fan of trading KO. I think it doesn't move very well. But if there's any day that's going to do something, it's going to be today, right? If there's any day, it's going to be today.
Pretty good earnings. So
yeah. So if you're a fan of KO, if you like the way that trades, you can watch it. I just don't like the way it moves. We started to see some of these more Chinese tickers come up here. Now we have XPEF, right? They all were beat up so much yesterday. They're probably going to take over a lot of this gappers list as they try to rebound a little bit, because it was just a massacre for them yesterday. UPS, let's not forget that one. Earnings this morning.
Yep.
So they are up 2.5. And, UPS can actually, it's actually okay. The last earnings play was actually pretty good. So
they can. They just don't get. They don't get volume until the market opens. So
yeah. Sitting on the nicey, they don't get great pre-market volume. But yeah, they traded very well last earnings, I believe. All right, that covers our gap up. Let's take a look at our gap down. CLF is down 10% this morning. This is a horrible intraday trading stock, by the way. I mean, it is just brutal. But it's tradable. I mean, anything's tradable. But I've seen trades. I've seen you guys take good trades on this. Norm, I didn't see earnings on this one. What's causing this?
Yeah, they have earnings.
They do. Okay.
Steel manufacturer, things slumping with the economy. So
yeah,
not too surprising.
So guys, in play, I'll put it on here because I know people would throw it out in the chat because they like this ticker. We'll take a closer look in a second. They got good volume this morning, so that's about it. GLW, no. This looks horrible. Corning Incorporated, not sure what that even is, but yeah, let's move down to BMRN, and this is a block trade, so not really in play. Nothing to see there. LBRT is not the best daily, very light on volume for the most part. I don't see anything great here. They're up 3.7. Energy tick stock company here. So yeah, I don't see anything great on that. AMPX, we saw this active in the last week or two, and this morning this is just ugly. What's the garbage can? Let's get the garbage can on this thing, man. This thing is just disgusting. Let's move down here to TSM. I mean, that was just bad, man. That's a no. TSM this morning, I don't usually watch this one, but it has been in play. It has been moving. We talked about this before, I believe, last week, where the last couple of days you've seen an increase in volume, and the daily candles are much better. Obviously, semiconductors have been rather interesting, to say the least. So if you've been trading this one and you know how it trades, you can watch it. I'm not gonna put it on my list, but definitely has been in play. There could be some opportunities there. PHG, horrible. It looks foreign, by the way. It doesn't. Yeah, it's not good. Let's take a look at Mara. Mara this morning, is their short flow interest growing 27%? I don't remember them being.
It's been pretty elevated. I don't know if it's grown or shrunk, but it's been elevated.
Yeah. I think it's the first time I see that it's actually being flagged as red. I don't remember seeing that the last few times we looked at it, but again, I can't say 100%. This morning, down 2.1. I'm not seeing a great volume. Had a nice day yesterday, beautiful pop over to 13, an area of resistance. If we can get above 13, if I see this one on the scanners, it could be interesting. All right, yesterday they had a nice move to that area of resistance, so a breakout out of that could actually play really nice. All right, that covers our gap up and down, guys. Norm, anything you're looking for this morning?
So we've got to ask the question, is there a difference in the way NYSE and NASDAQ stocks move? And there absolutely is. I answered yes, was asked to say a few words. It has to do with market makers and how the exchanges are built. NASDAQ was essentially a computer, when it came to be, 40, 50, however long ago, a long time ago now. It was a computerized exchange, and therefore it just moves a little bit different. Also, it's less so the case now, but NASDAQ tended to be more tech-focused tickers. It's not as skewed that it's still skewed that way. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as skewed that way that tech companies will only be on the NASDAQ. But anyway, that's I mean, we could go on for 2 hours about the differences and market makers and how all that works. But yes, there is a difference. One of those differences is pre-market volume. In general, NASDAQ stocks get plenty of pre-market volume. NYSE a lot of times does not. So
Yeah, that is a big one there. The pre-market volume. All right, cool. We are all set here, guys. Norm, and besides the stuff we have, anything you have on your
nothing special, man. Just the
Yeah.
usual suspects at this point. I'm not
Yeah.
a huge fan of today. I'm
Yeah,
gonna need
yeah.
another, news event or something like we got yesterday.
Something to shake things up.
Yeah.
Let's take a look over in chat, guys. We'll start with Fabio. We'll take two from you. We'll take Google and Amazon. Let's look at those two. Google. Again, they better be doing something good for me to have them on my list, and they're really not. I mean, their daily looks interesting, but outside of that, we spoke about this yesterday, right? Google is just not a ticker that trades very well for me. So I prefer to watch something else. Let's look at Amazon. I like Amazon. Amazon probably, not probably, does trade a lot better pre-market action and also actual trading activity. Right now, the volume, though, I don't see anything that's causing this to be in play for me, right? So I won't be adding this to my list just yet. I like both how they're sitting on their daily here for a possible breakout of 120. That could be interesting. We haven't broken out of that since looks like September. September was end of September last time we were above that, looks like. So not a big fan right now, but if the breakout happens, that could be nice. Let's look at Apple. Apple this morning, pre-market access got some good volume, guys. 1.1 million shares traded so far, so that is pretty good. Definitely worth adding to the list. You can see a couple of green days back to back on Apple here, so looking nice, looking nice. I did not have it on my list yesterday. How did it trade yesterday? How did it move? Let's see. Oh, that's a nice move into the close yesterday. Nice little pop there before the market close. So nice. Yeah, so Apple hitting that 150. Jay was talking about this in chat yesterday. I remember that now. I wasn't looking at the charts, but I was doing something else and listening in. And I remember he was talking about, Apple and 150 and how 150 is a thing for Apple, right? They struggle with that 150. At least it's an important level of support and resistance. And we saw that they went right to it yesterday and back down. So a breakout out of that will probably be really, really nice. So Apple is good. We'll add that to the list. I like the volume so far. Meta, yeah, social media yesterday. You guys saw Snap, by the way. We didn't talk about Snap, but Snap yesterday. This was actually my trade here. This thing was insane. Then TikTok news or DOJ stuff happened here, right? At least when it started.
Nothing ended up happening with TikTok, but I think
I was going to ask you, yeah.
It's a Huawei issue is really the person, that the company involved in what transpired with the DOJ yesterday. But that having been said, it was clearly a shot across the bow of Chinese government and companies meddling in our stuff over here. I mean, the timing of it happening yesterday after what happened over the weekend, that's not a coincidence. So I think TikTok has been warned.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll take notice of that. But yeah, here Snap popped up, and you can see again just an insane move there. So not sure what's in it for today. They got good volume. I mean, after this drop down here, this huge gap down, they've seen an increase in volume, including yesterday. I don't know. It's one of those that can actually be good if they start to break out towards this gap here that they have. So let's see what happens. I'll put it as a possible. We'll look at it a little bit later. And then I was going to get to Meta. That's why we came here to begin with. So Meta yesterday, again, same thing, right? Got the breakout here with the news when the news was released, and then here the conversation, which had this reaction, but they recovered pretty nicely, I would think, right? So if the reaction would have been all the way down over here, then that would have been different, but it didn't really do a whole lot as far as dropping these companies back down. Right now, Meta, very light on volume. I mean, unless any more news breaks out on this, I'm not sure I'll add this to my list. I do gap down, right? This is what's creating makes Snap so nice to look at. They had this huge gap down. If they start closing that gap, start squeezing, well, not squeezing, but moving higher, that could be an interesting thing. KO, yeah, I agree. KO is not an easy trade. It moves very slow. Yeah, KO is one of these tickers that moves very slow. Today, though, if today's the day that you want to watch this one if you are going to ever watch KO. Apple looks good. May I ask what you see on Apple besides volume? It's clean, man. It's a clean daily. I mean,
You can
if you look
trade
at
Apple just about at any day of the week.
yeah, like we talked about this before too. Like if I had to pick one ticker to watch for the rest of the year, which is not long, then maybe next year, it'll be Apple. Right, maybe get over the wash sale rule if you want to do that. It'll be Apple. I mean, Apple is just it's in play. What
If it
eight
can
times out
break
of
over
10?
150 and confirm, you might have something decent there. That would be
Yeah.
what I would be looking for.
Yeah. And another thing too is, right? I'm not sure. I don't think there was any news release in Apple. The only news I know from Apple is that they're reducing the production of iPhones 14 because they know
They're
things are
increasing
not
their pricing. That's big news that came out
right.
yesterday.
Okay, so that's not good news. And look at this.
No,
You're
it is.
all
It
for the
is.
stock. Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
this
they're
was a SPY
increasing.
though, right? I thought that was a SPY. Let me see. I thought it was kind of like a SPY movement there, but what the thing with Apple is, guys, that, you could watch it any day and
Yeah,
it's gonna
you can
trade
get a trade
well.
on Apple any day.
Yeah, like there could be no catalyst. Obviously, today we have some, but there could be no catalyst. And if the SPY does this, guess what? Apple's gonna follow suit, and that's the great thing about watching Apple. And they're gonna do it with
Apple
volume,
does
because
something, SPY is going to follow suit.
yeah,
Given
yeah,
Apple's a big chunk.
exactly. And some other companies are gonna do this as well, but they're not going to do it with how clean Apple is, right? You're going to find companies that are going to follow whatever the overall market is doing, but they're not going to do it as clean as Apple. So, that's what we see on it, and sometimes it's just, it works out nice when you have the 150 level here as well, as Jai was kind of breaking down yesterday in chat. That can also create some opportunities as well. So Apple's good. CFRA, are you giving me a ticker here? Hey, Miss, what do we have? CFRA, or is that something else? Oh, no, you're talking about some analysts. Okay. Tesla looked like Apple. Yeah, Tesla's another one that follows the market as well. And it does it with, oh man. I wonder who, by mistake, anybody types TLSA and trades this garbage here. Look at this thing. Oof. All right, let's go back. Let's go to the right thing here. Tesla. TSLA this morning, they are only me, right, Rafsilla? Only me who types that nonsense. Yeah, light on volume this morning, 674,000. But again, it's still one that you can add it to your list. Again, there's not a whole lot to look at today, by the way. Don't get confused by our gappers list. We have tons of stuff here, but there's really not a whole lot that's looking great here. There's a lot of garbage in this list. TCOM, not a fan of, just coming up here as well. It's a horrible ticker. So yeah,
Another Chinese one popping up.
yeah, yeah. All right, guys, we are set. Let's head over to
Melanie did it. Melanie
Yeah.
mentioned on YouTube, or no, it wasn't Melanie. Sorry, Kareem. M is up on volume today. That is nothing but a block trade. There's 758,000 shares traded. Of that, 752 of them are one single block trade. So you got nothing going on there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys, let's get to our community events and announcements. Head over to bearboottrades.com, click on webinar, and you can see what's coming up for the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Every Monday night, Onboarding Technology with Carlos. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern, especially for new members. Very important webinar takes place live each week. We focus on strategy on Tuesdays. Tonight, we've got Andrew, 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about moving averages. He's going to talk about which averages he uses, why he uses them, and how he uses them. The next week, we're going to have to tweak that and figure out what we're covering there, because Carlos is going to be traveling. So we'll fill one in there, and then that managing an open position will be moved. Tomorrow night, Randy Howell, 8 p.m. Eastern, talking about scared money and chasing losers. Very important topic. Following week, Kenneth Reed. Guys, note the special time here. Dr. Reed's usually at the normal 8 p.m. time. Excuse me. But next week, he will be at 5 p.m. This is because we're in Florida. In order to record this and get that handled properly, we needed to move it to fit in our schedule a little bit. So heads up, 5 p.m. next week instead of the normal. He's going to be talking about handling pressure, so stress and trading. Thursdays is mentorship, 11 a.m. with John and 8 p.m. with Thor. Don't forget about tradingterminal.com, our free web-based everything depot of information for trading. And included there, you've got scanners, you've got news, heat map, all that kind of stuff, earnings calendar. Don't forget about the stock trading simulator, which you can also access directly at stocktradingsimulator.com, where you can hone your trading skills on our. It's web based. It's free. Replay simulator, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, you'd like to try out the room, use the promo code PreMarket24 to get a 1 week, no obligation trial. Bills you one time. It is not recurring payment. And if you'd like to become an elite member, gain access to all the webinars and the mentoring that I mentioned, use the promo code READ50 to get that, plus a free one-on-one coaching session with Dr. Kenneth Reed.
All right. Thank you very much. Norm, let's go over here and start looking at our list. No, not a question. I was typing something and trying to get on track here. All right, guys. So let's take a look here on what we have on our list, and we'll start doing some levels. Again, not a blockbuster list. And if you look at my list here, I have Baba, I have a UPS. Baba, by the way, dropping some more here, so that's getting interesting. UPS on earnings, which last time they traded very well. I have Apple. And over here, I have a Tesla. So just 4 for now. I know that's going to change as we get closer to the market open and things become, and that's the wrong Tesla. Let me fix that. Here we go. And Tesla right there. So we'll see how that goes. And there's some possibles here. CLF. I mean, CLF. I mean, this thing, I'm not a fan, but this thing is moving. 1 million shares and continues to drop there. Yeah, I'm gonna put this up. CLF today on the list, guys. Not typically a ticker I would like, but this pre-market activity is inviting me to put this on the list here. GM looking actually pretty good this morning, guys. Pre-market wise, they usually are not the best intraday trading ticker. But this pre-market actually is not bad, 866,000. We have WebR, which is Weber here, also starting to pick up a little bit. They're on their call now. So we'll look a little bit later, see if anything is happening there. Logitech, Logitech up 7.8 now, 128,000. This thing is cranking as well. So might move that one up. Neo looking horrible pre-market right now. I like the volume of 1 million, but pre-market, this thing looks pretty bad. Yesterday, huge drop. Look at the volume yesterday as well, guys. So 166 million shares traded as they drop. Is this all-time low? I forgot what the all-time low was on Neo. I don't think it. No, it's not. So this thing go to zero? $1.26. All right, so it's been way down there. Nevertheless, I mean, just look at the drop here on the weekly, guys. We were hanging out at 60. We hung out at 40 for quite some time, and now we're hanging out at $9. So just has not been fun for Neo and many Chinese tickers, not just Neo. But this one is one that trades very well. So I might move that one up as well. We'll see. A lot of opportunities here that we just got to sit on for a second, give them a little some time to develop, and then we can make a better decision. And then Snap could be a hit or miss. We'll look for Snap on our scanners and see where that goes. A couple of more tickers. We got time. We'll look at them. Let's look at Roblox, GE, TSM, and yeah, let's take a look at this. So we'll look at Roblox this morning. Volume is light right now, starting to break out. We'll come back to this. I like the little island they have over here. Maybe a breakout of that, or a test of 4350 might be nice. But right now, not doing a whole lot, right? So I'll wait for that to kind of hit the scanners there. TSM we looked at already, Dennis. So it is in play. I'm not huge on TSM, but it is in play, and it has been trading much better the last week or two, right? You can see here. This is not usually how TSM moves. I mean, they don't move like this. So we're seeing that now. A couple of days for increased volume, right? Especially yesterday, we saw that. So that's causing some good opportunities on it. So yeah, you could watch that. I won't put it on my list, but you could definitely see that. Will you trade F as a sympathy to GM? No, probably not. Probably not. I would rather watch GM than Ford anytime. They're both not ideal intraday tickers, but GM with the news, I think I'd rather watch them. I'm not saying that Ford cannot move, but again, Ford moves so slow. GM is going to move way better as far as price action, right? So that's my take on it. Don't forget to mark the level 0. Yeah, we'll put 0 on Neo. We'll put some daily levels on there. Make sure 0 is marked. TLT, this is ETF, right? Treasury. Yeah, obviously moving there as well. Roblox, interesting. Any catalyst? Not that I'm aware of. not that I'm aware of on Roblox, but they are moving up a little bit there. And at GE, what's going on with GE today? Do we have anything happening? GE earnings? Yeah, you can see earnings here. Yeah, GE is another one that, again, it doesn't move a whole lot as well. So I'd rather watch some other stuff. I think the list I have here is a little bit better than GE or Ford at this time. Last one that we'll get to levels is Oxy. What did Oxy do the last couple of days? I haven't really been watching it. Oh, that is just brutal. Look at this. This is pretty crappy. So it didn't do nothing yesterday, but on Friday it did move very well on Friday, but yesterday was not a great day. And that's Oxy for you, man. It is a hit or miss. You can always have Oxy on your secondary list, and you just gotta wait for the market open. Look at their pre-market activity, right? This is their pre-market activity on Friday, right? This is from here to here, Friday's pre-market action, and look how well they trade. In the later part of the day, right? This is a little bit of indecision happening there, and look how beautiful this is there. Look at their pre-market action yesterday, right? Just brutal, very similar to Friday, and they trade horrible. So you really can't go too much of the pre-market action on Oxy. It doesn't mean much for this ticker. So this right here looks horrible, but it can have a beautiful day. So you just got to kind of wait and see to really make a decision if you want to watch this one or not. All right, levels, guys. Let's go to it. Here is Baba this morning, up 1.2, and we had a huge drop all the way to 58. Recovered yesterday, came right back towards that opening line, so we're pretty good there. Look at this, a very strong hammer situation there. Towards the top, high of the pre-market 65.10, and then towards the bottom we have this level here. This will be the high from yesterday. It's this level right on here, right? So that is marking a nice area of support for us. The pre-market is lower. Pre-market is actually sitting at we just created it here at 63.60. So we will slam a level there, but I like this level here as well that you have from your highs and lows of the last 2 trading days. Pre-market high all the way up here, which is also noted by 65.10. But you also have this area here, which I'm going to mark down, 64.76. We had a rejection here twice this morning in the pre-market, with some okay volume here and here. So I'm going to mark down 64.76 just in case. Then I think you're good, guys. Surrounded by the previous day close towards the bottom, some highs and lows. I think you're set here on Baba this morning. UPS got some action today. Earnings, of course, high of the pre-market 175.57. Price action. Are we sitting on something right now? We're sitting on this daily level. Previous level there, we have a 171. So that's an area. We're going to mark that down. Even pre-market right now, we've been flirting with this 171.83 for a bit there. So worth noting that. And then as we move up towards the top, we do have 179.52. We will slam a level there as well. And I think you're pretty set on UPS this morning. So up 2.7, great volume. 152 for UPS on the New York Stock Exchange is actually great volume. Let's see if we can get back towards this highs over here. That'd be nice. Here's Apple, guys. 1.2 million shares traded, and pre-market action is very clean here, as you can see that. And then we're heading back, hopefully, to that previous day close and retesting that 150 up there. Towards the bottom, guys, you are pretty set here. Pretty set. Do not need to do anything else. And as you move towards the top, let's get some levels off the daily. Obviously, the big level here that's sticking out like a sore thumb is going to be this one right here around 154-ish. If we draw a line right on there, you can see that support, great support happening here and here. A little bit of resistance as well before we retest that and then have this nice drop. So that looks good on Apple there. I don't think we need to mark anything else. 152. This is the big level, right? This is the major level here. But 152 in here, you also have what it seems to be an area where you got some candles touching here, maybe 151.51. Yeah, 151.51. Gonna mark that too. Got a couple of days slamming into that level here as well. That could be a good midpoint between where we are now, this 150 to the 154. So I would love to see Apple break out of that, head to that towards that 151. I think that would be a nice play. Maybe we could see John do one of his high of day breakouts. Like you guys saw the high of day breakout he had yesterday. Really nice. It's on Twitter. Make sure you follow John on Twitter. I'll try to pull that up before we close the show here. But he had an incredible high of day breakout yesterday. All right, let's take a look here at Tesla this morning. Tesla, we are pretty much flat right now, but it's always great What's his Twitter? Yeah, let's get John's Twitter. We got time. Let's get his Twitter. Um, John, uh, by the way, shout out to John. He is consistent with the way he journals. I'm telling you guys, trading, you got to put the work in the back end. It's not just you show up and you trade the market open and you feel like you're working hard, you're a hard trader because you're available in the market open. You got to put the work in the back end with that journal. I mean, if you're not doing that, you are leaving so much potential of learning on the table, and how fast you're going to progress as a trader. So you really got to put in the work in the back end, right? Don't confuse hard work with just being available to trade. You also have to be putting it in the back end when the markets are not open, when nobody's watching, when you're not able to take a trade. That is where you want to put in the work. Let's look for John here. Where's John? Hive day yesterday. And every morning he does this, right? He puts in, look at this thing, man. This is work. This is work. This is not easy. This is not easy right here. There it is. Meta. Just incredible, guys. Look at this. Look, man, this makes me look bad. I got to start doing more work. I got to start putting it.
His meme game is strong too.
Oh yes, John is funny, man. John, his meme game is very strong. But look at this. This looks like an application for like I don't know, man, like entry to a country or something. I don't know. But this guy gets it done. This guy gets it done. But amazing trade here, guys. Take a look at that. Make sure you follow John. And we came here for his Twitter handle. It is at John H. Is that underscore, I believe, BBT. Okay. Excellent.
Don't fall for the imposters.
Yeah, don't fall for the imposters. And we'll never ask you to send money so we can trade, or give you back X amount of dollars if you send, whatever. That's never going to happen. We will never do that. All right, where were we? Let's look at Tesla here. Tesla this morning, we are moving sideways, stuck between the highs and lows of the last two trading days. Let's put a previous low of the pre-market at the moment, 207.82. We will slam that there. Actually, it's a little bit higher. It's actually right at 208. So we'll put that a little bit higher there, 208, low of the pre-market. Outside of that, we will mark down the high of the pre-market there. That's going to be 210.73. And you're set, guys. You got plenty of stuff here for Tesla this morning. And a very tight range pre-market right now. Let's see if we can get a breakout going here. All right, let's take a look over at CLF today. Oh, man, CLF keeps dropping. This thing is down to 12% almost. Low of the pre-market, 1365 as of now. Trying to find some kind of base. We tried to do that here. That didn't work. And we continue to drop. So towards the top, highs and lows of the last two trading days surrounding the high of the pre-market, right? And since then dropped quite a bit. Some levels in here, and the good one here, 1470. And then towards the left, this is a horrible daily, by the way, but we'll do our best to get the best daily levels here. 1407, which makes sense because this is why in the pre-market we kind of try to hold that 1407 there. And then if we were to lose this 1366, which is not looking too strong of support right now, 1292, and then right in here we do have this level. So a lot of touches on here over at 1345. So yeah, let's mark those. This is looking good. I actually like CLF today quite a bit. So all right, excellent. That is our list, guys. Moderators coming in with their list. We have Thor, Jared, Peter with their list already. We'll wait for a few more and we'll get this cranking over here. I only have an hour, question hour on YouTube. I only have an hour and a half to trade in the morning. What strategy would you recommend? I have been using VWAP for some time. The good entries are later in the day. Yeah, if you're limited to an hour and a half, which by the way is a lot of time, that is that is a lot of time for the market open. You can find some really good opportunities. You just got to be patient, not to force yourself to trade within that 5 to 15 minutes. Because if you've been looking at the stuff we've been reviewing, you notice that first 15 to a half an hour could be tough to trade. It could be very choppy. Now you're limiting yourself to an hour and a half and you say, man, I got to wait 15, 30 minutes. It's going to put a lot of pressure for you to want to trade. So you got to kind of control that a little bit. Even if you'd rather have a good hour to trade than try to force yourself to trade, hour and a half, right? So just keep that in mind. And then you look at opening range breakouts, 5 minute, 15 minutes. Those are really good. Look at high of day breakouts happen early sometimes. You can look at those as well. So there's plenty of of strategies that you could look at. I'm obviously biased to the opening range breakup because that's what I trade, and breakdown. That's what I trade. But there's several on there that you can look at. Matter of fact, send me an email, carlos@bearbutraders.com. I'll send you a chart that you can use to see what strategies happen with that morning time frame. So send me an email, send that to you. If anybody else wants to send me an email as well, carlos@bearbutraders. We'll get that to you.
I've got another
Yeah.
ticker to add here that's looking
Yeah.
good, been called out. PayPal.
Yeah, I
I
saw
guess they
that.
just
Somebody
had
threw it out.
news that they are Amazon's going to accept Venmo. So PayPal.
Amazon. Oh, okay. Is Venmo owned by PayPal? Oh, okay, nice. Did not know that. There you go. Excellent. Venmo sent me a message saying, "Hey, sign back in, and we'll give you $20." So, but no, $5. I think it was. So I'm like, okay, I'll donate that $5 somewhere.
Is that from a fake Twitter account?
No, this was actually dumb. This was actually dumb.
Legit.
legit. From their email, it was like $5. All right. If it would have been like $20, $50, I'd be like, okay, something's wrong. Maybe I could buy an NFT with that and let it rock. PayPal's looking good, guys. Yeah, so let's see what that's big news, man. That is big news. So yeah, I see it's going right now. It's gonna be a good one. Let's do some quick levels before we let you guys go. We'll look at the moderators list in a second. High of the pre-market here sitting at 86, and over here 86, yeah, 85, 88 to be exact. And then we have a level over here over at 87.54. We'll mark those two for now. Let's see where this goes. But yeah, this thing is this is going to be really good for PayPal. Just came one of my favorite ones on the list this morning. 89.65, another level, because it looks like we're going to be getting to 87 very, very quickly here. Thanks, Noah, for that breakout there. Guys, we're all set. Moderators list. Let's take a look what's happening here. I see Brian coming in with his list as well. If you haven't done so already, as I resize this thing over here, hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. We appreciate it. If you're enjoying the show this morning, we would love your support. So thank you so much. Sitting at 150, a little bit on the low side. We would like to get a reversal on that and head over to 250 if we can. All right, let's go ahead and bring this over here. All right, let's see what the moderators are watching this morning. Start with Thor, Tesla, Baba, Amazon, KO with earnings today, and BA. BA has earnings this week today, right? After the close, I believe. So we'll look at BA. Jared, UPS, KO, CLF, and also secondary list Roblox and Microsoft and Google. That's weird for those to do their thing there. No SPACs, no IPOs for today. Eamon looking at potential longs, American Airlines and Roku. And then Brian looking at CLF, Baba, NVIDIA, Tesla, and PayPal. And then, Peter's updating his list. AMD, GM, PayPal. Secondary list UPS, Apple, and KO, which is Coca-Cola. All right, guys, we are set. Brian is up next with some live trading. Remember, tonight is our strategy webinar tonight, guys, for our elite members, 8 p.m. We have the one and only Andrew. He'll be trading. He'll be talking about his, what's his topic today? He's talking about
moving averages.
Okay, looking forward to that. All right, I think we're all set. Norm, anything we forgot?
Nothing I can think of, man.
All right. Guys, trade safe today. We will see you tonight at 8 p.m. for the webinar, and have an amazing day. See ya.
Take care, guys. Trade safe.